Leslie. How are you?
So, just so you know, there was a little bit of changes with this, and that's why we have this new packet. Minor stuff. We'll talk about it later in the meeting.
Okay. All right. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. If you would be seated, please. Good evening. This is the City Council Public Hearing Work Session for June the 11th. Yeah, we'll do it. We'll call this meeting to order, and the clerk will call the roll.
Mayor Brian Mock.
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Paul Stovall.
Here.
Councilmember Jimmy First.
A key.
Councilmember John Mesa. Here. Councilmember Leslie Robson. Councilmember Elmer Vai.
Here.
All right. I'll need somebody to approve the agenda, please.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion to approve the agenda as submitted.
Second.
A motion and a second to approve the agenda as submitted. Any discussion? All in favor? And that is unanimous. All right. This will take us down to public hearings this evening. I'll read the rules of order for public hearing zoning matters. The hearing shall be presided over by the mayor. After calling the hearing to order, the mayor shall request the parcels of property which are subject to the zoning proposal be identified in red. Following such identification and reading, the development director's recommendation shall be presented. The mayor and city council shall cause the director's written recommendation to be made part of the record. Proponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning the zoning decision. If all 10 minutes are not used, the proponent's remaining time may be reserved for rebuttal. Opponents of each proposed zoning decision shall then be allowed a total of 10 minutes for presentation of data, evidence, and opinion concerning each zoning decision. The presentation times may not be reduced but may be extended by majority vote provided they are expanded equally for proponents and opponents. Anyone wishing to speak shall come to the microphone, give your name and address to the city clerk. Please do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. With that, we'll move into the first public hearing this evening. This is 3392 Chamblee Dunwoody Road. Hey, Matt.
Mayor and Council, Matt Adams, Planning and Development Director for the City of Chamblee. This first item, 3392 Chamblee Dunwoody Road, this is PZ 2026-1700, is a rezoning of the property from village commercial to industrial transitional. So this proposal is for the installation of a approximately 27,000 square foot luxury motor condominium development. The subject site is approximately 1.6 acres and is situated at the southern frontage of Chamblee Dunwoody Road. It's currently vacant, though neighboring properties to the south, such as the Chamblee International Logistics Center property, have experienced some industrial infill in recent years. Here you can see the site in question with neighboring industrial development, which again is directly south to the property. Previous development in the area triggered the need for streetscape installation, which you can see has been installed in the leftmost picture. As part of that streetscape installation, the required pedestrian infrastructure and street furniture was installed and are still in overall good shape and workable and serviceable condition. As I said earlier, the site is currently zoned as village commercial. It's surrounded by other properties that are zoned village commercial to the north, east, and west, and by a large swath of industrial transitional zoning to the south. The closer you get to PDK Airport, the more industrial zoned properties there are. The site is located in the Buford Highway Downtown Connector Character area of the comprehensive plan and is assigned a commercial future land use. As noted in the staff report, the proposed industrial transitional zoning would be permitted as it is compatible with the future land use for the area as currently assigned. After the proposed rezoning, the applicant intends to install a 26-unit luxury vehicle condominium development. The closest corollary to this use in the UDO is climate-controlled self-storage use, which has supplemental requirements, and as such, this project would be subject to those supplemental requirements. Project would either need to meet all of those requirements or seek relief from council in the form of future variances and waivers. The applicant is aware of the requirements of the UDO, and staff has communicated issues with the proposed conceptual design that would either need to be redesigned or require the submission of variances and waivers. The applicant has elected to hold off on submitting the variance and waiver applications at this time, pending the outcome of the rezoning request. So at this time, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning change with two conditions. Because of the need for regulatory relief, the project as currently designed would require, staff would ask that any conditional approval referencing a site plan make it clear that council is not approving portions of the design which do not meet the requirements of the UDO. This, of course, is inherent to council's approvals of items like this, but the condition we're proposing would cut down on the back and forth between staff and applicants that we're currently having on other projects. Also, given the modular nature of the proposal, our understanding would be that customers would be able to customize the units. We would recommend a condition prohibiting overnight stays for the sake of clarity.
All right, is there anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item?
Thank you so much. I'll try to keep it short. I love what I do, so I get long-winded. But again, Lee Janik, the founder of Vault Motor Condos. We're requesting the industrial zoning because it happens to be the type of structure that we build. But it's not necessarily the usage format. It's very low impact. Our communities are just that, communities. I know we have storage in our name and storage on the application, and it is storage, but it's a little bit different. They are communities. We like to work hand in hand with the communities that we come into and basically build a sub-community within each municipality for those folks that have a need for this type of product. It is storage, it is kind of minimized, so everyone purchases them. It's not a rental type situation, so that's where the condo comes in. So when someone comes in, they basically buy it and they own it. The big thing is we want to work with the city of Chamblee, making sure we build something that fits, that looks appropriate architecturally. We do not have a lot of impact with in and outs, so traffic and that will not be a problem. The one item that Matt noted previously is the no overnight stays. That's actually something that we write into our CC&Rs. So in any of our communities that we ever build, no one can have an overnight stay. So even though there's water, electric, plumbing, they'll be outfitted usually with a mezzanine or loft, probably a small bathroom, something on those lines, a little bar area. But we actually write those in our CC&R governing documents that you cannot stay. In our other communities, I've been doing this a long time. I've built over 500,000 square feet of these. There's never been an issue with that being violated. So.
All right, anything else?
I think for now, I think we're good. All right. Thank you, Council. Thank you, Mayor.
Of course. Anyone else wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition?
Brent Hill, 3810 Harts Mill Lane, Brookhaven, Georgia. I also have interest in multiple properties here in Chamblee. Luxury Motor Court is just a fancy, or condo, sorry, it's just a fancy way of saying it's storage. Now, the addition of bathrooms and so forth make it where you can't prevent an overnight stay. If in any way to take it away from public storage is to prevent any rentals of any kind. If it's owned by somebody personally, then they must hold it and not rent it out. My biggest concern, though, is that this panel has made it very clear on the strict adherence to the code sections of everything here, right? And I've identified 2 other properties that were approved and built without having code approval with them. Now, since then, I found 4 others I picked at random, and some of them were recent. So my thing is here. If the panel keeps saying that We want strict adherence to code. My question is when does that start? Because apparently it's only one property as of this moment. Thank you.
Anyone else wishing to speak against this item? All right, did you want to address any of that?
So the one main concern that I'm hearing is the ability to rent. We also have written in our CCNRs against the rental program. So anyone that buys in our unit, in our communities, is strict adherence against subleasing or renting them. So it's, if you buy it, you use it for your own personal use. The reason we did that is because if you sublease, you don't know, the community doesn't know who is subleasing to who. We also have strict CCNRs against businesses. So we don't want someone subleasing to a business that might go in, landscaper or something like that. The folks that are buying these units are usually very well-off individuals. We've got millions of dollars worth of sports cars and whatnot in there. So the community is kept up, very well. Everyone's, pretty specific on what they like in there, which is all high-end. So in our CCNRs and our POAs, rentals are absolutely not allowed. In fact, in one of our other communities just yesterday, I had someone wanted to buy 4 units, and he wanted to buy them to lease them, and I had to turn them away. And that number to me was a $1.6 million loss.
We'll move down to the next item. I'll remind you that this item does come back up later on in the agenda. Council may have questions at that time. Okay. Next up is 3515 London Road, Keswick Drive, and Ashton Woods Drive.
Council. So this item is to rezone properties that are subject to a 2021 land swap agreement between the City of Chamblee and Ashton Woods Healthcare. There is no new development anticipated at this time other than permits which are already in progress. This rezoning is needed in order to properly plat the properties as anticipated by council in that land swap, which was finalized in 2022 but was agreed upon in 2021. So here you can see an aerial view of the properties that would be affected by this change. As a note, because the lots being transferred between the city and Ashton Woods do not technically exist until they are platted, staff is required to advertise the change of zoning using the official addresses of what are considered the parent properties, or the parent properties that these pieces would be split off from. However, as I mentioned earlier, this zoning change would only affect those properties which were transferred between Ashton Woods Healthcare and the City of Chamblee in 2021. There'd be no changes to other properties that are not highlighted on this map. Here you can see the existing zoning map on the left and the proposed zoning map on the right. On the right, you will also see sort of the future condition of the lots once they are properly platted. As noted in the staff report, the future land use of the properties are as follows. Ashton Woods property has a public institutional future land use. London Road has a low-density residential future land use. And the Keswick property has a Parks, Recreation, and Conservation future land use. The proposed zoning map amendment would meet all of those future land uses and be compatible with that as far as the zoning compatibility table. So at this time, staff is recommending approval of the rezoning requests as submitted with the added condition that the zoning map amendments only become effective unless and until a plat splitting the subject properties receives approval by the Planning and Development Director and is recorded with the Clerk of Superior Court of DeKalb County. This is intended to make sure that we are not creating split-zoned lots. So the idea would be that at the time the platting occurs, the zoning would be used for that review, and it would become effective and the map would change after that date.
Thanks, Matt. Anyone here wishing to speak in favor of this item? How are you?
My name is Baxter Russell, 1776 Peachtree Street, speaking in support of this application on behalf of Pruitt Health. Our goal is, in view of this application that the city has put forth, is just a natural and logical extension of the land swap that occurred in 2021. We want the zoning to match the ownership and to match what occurred in 2021. It's a way for us to, my client and myself have been working to clean up approvals and issues at this site and at this property. Started with the parking lot extension last year that we worked on into the beginning of this year. Realized that there were some issues with the land swap that occurred and the zoning that's there today. And so that's what I'm here for, is to support that and request that you approve this application. Thank you.
Else wishing to speak in favor of this item?
Back up to tract 1, and so I'm very much in favor of the rezoning. And am I allowed to ask the council a question?
Not at this time.
Okay.
Sorry, this is a... We'll make sure we figure it out. Yeah. Anyone else here wishing to speak in favor of this item? Anyone wishing to speak in opposition to this item? All right, again, this is on the agenda a little bit later. That'll take us down to approval of the minutes. There was 3 sets of minutes. Did anybody see anything that needed to be changed? Good to go on that. All right, under staff action items this evening, we have the 2026 millage rate resolution.
Yes, Mayor, this will be in front of y'all after your third and final public hearing, which will be on Tuesday evening at 6 p.m. Public hearing for non-zoning matters ahead of your regular meeting, and you'll take up the resolution after that public hearing at that time.
Thank you, thank you. We have the 2026 Chamblee Downtown Special Services District millage rate.
Yes, unlike your M&O millage rate, you don't have to have public hearings for your millage rates for your SSDs. So the next few slides are your annual millage rate for your downtown SSD and your Dresden Plaster SSD, as well as your GeoBond millage rate. And so downtown SSD staff is proposing to maintain the millage rate at the same level that it was this past year and in previous years. And again, that downtown SSD funds additional police personnel, additional grounds maintenance folks. We did in 2026 allocate some money to design this green space out here. It also funds additional trail cameras, and there is some artificial turf and updated benches downtown that fund is funding this year.
We'll move into the next.
And then Dresden Plaster SSD, this one is newer compared to the other one. This fund, we're again proposing 2 mills, which is the same as it was previously. It is funding the phase 2 design and engineering of your Dresden Trail project. There is a grounds and maintenance technician that handles Dresden and Arrow Creek Park from this fund, and then additional safety improvements along Dresden Drive and Plaster Road.
Okay. Any questions from council at this point? All right, we'll move down to the GeoBond.
Yep. And then this is your third and final special levy. This one funds your annual debt service for your general obligation bond that you issued last year for your parks.
All right. Any questions from council on that item? All right, we'll move on down to the compost program.
Thank you, Mayor. The city staff has been meeting with Compost Now after a few requests from various council members to look into what our composting opportunities are for composting services. I know Councilmember First has been a vocal advocate for this program, as well as a few others. Decatur, the city of Decatur has recently launched a program in partnership with Compost Now that gives residents the opportunity to use the service at a reduced rate through the agreement with the city. And we are proposing a similar agreement in Chamblee, where residents would be able to opt in to using Compost Now for $19 a month. The whole program would run through Compost Now directly. However, the city would be doing education and outreach and initiatives to encourage folks to compost and provide additional education on composting. And we view it as an overall opportunity for our sustainability programming to reduce waste going to the landfill. And I will also add that we've had some additional conversations, myself, Avondale Estates, and Decatur, and Mayor Mock was included in these conversations to pursue other ways to divert waste to the landfill through composting and additional recycling as a way to reduce our tipping fees with DeKalb sanitation. So that is not set in stone yet, but it is another factor to encourage us to pursue some additional programming. And I will add, this is at no cost to the city directly.
Thank you. I don't know why, but that just makes me happy. Any questions for
I have
council?
lots of questions. What does it look like? So Compost Now, they provide the cans?
Yes, they provide the cans.
And those look like large cans from this picture.
They're pretty small.
They're pretty small.
Oh, okay.
Well,
Yeah.
I use this program, Councilman Robson, and I have a small 2-gallon bucket at
Okay,
my house.
because this picture doesn't look small.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, this is
that's-
from-
it's not argumentative, I'm just saying, because I compost in my own yard, and I use a small can, and it's not big enough quite often. So, so they come on a schedule and pick this up, and then they drop off compost? Or do they give it back to the clients or customers?
No, I believe that they take it and they, Blake's been meeting with the Compost Now folks. You can have a little bit more detail what they do with the composting.
Mayor and Council, Blake, Special Projects Manager. That's a great question, and I don't have a full answer on that just yet. There is ability for the community to reuse the compost that we're producing. So they'll give us measurements of how much our residents are composting out, and we'll get those numbers back. I'm not exactly sure on if we get to utilize that ourselves yet.
There is a service, and I don't know if it is Compost Now, that gives you credit.
I think the residents do get credit back towards theirs, yes.
Plastic cans?
Yeah, and they're provided by Compost Now. They also provide the liners for them as
Oh,
well.
so they do have a
They
liner?
do, so they'll
Okay.
provide those as part of their $19 a month. The only responsibility residents will have will be getting out there at 6 a.m. on the day of pickup and cleaning out their compost bins.
But they have that compost bin somewhere else. They take it out like a trash can.
Yep, just like a trash can, yeah.
Liners are biodegradable?
Yes, and they're provided by Compost Now. The reason, if you wanted a little more background, the reason Decatur went this route was they actually tried to get a grant and do their own composting program, and it was so unaffordable for the city to do it themselves. But they were using Compost Now's place to deliver all their compost. That compost worked this out with them because of their, as Kristen said, the Avondale Estates trial run they did in the past. And they brought this up to us as like, we'd like to come to Chamblee and do this as well. So it's I think, Jimmy, you said you did probably, what, $40 a month for you?
I'm paying $40 right
so
now,
it's
yeah.
half the price. The only difference is I think they take your can. They won't take your can in this. The residents are responsible for cleaning, but they do provide the liners.
And I'll also
That's the
add
problem
that
with plastic.
I'll also add that this program is available not just to single-family residential who would be in our sanitation program, but also folks that live in multifamily, condos and all that kind of stuff, townhouses, all of the.
And it's $40 a month?
No,
20,
it's 19.
19.
It's 19.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
that is more
I will
reasonable.
also add that they have hard recycling options.
They have
So
what?
hard recycling options, so batteries, textiles, there's plastics number 5, plastics number 1, which we recycle in the city, that you could actually get bags for those, and they'll come pick those up as well. So I just had a bunch of clothes that have holes in them, because I'm a man, and we wear things until they get holes in them. And need to get rid of them, and had a bag that I had already purchased, threw it in there, and when I put my composting bucket out, they came and picked that up, and it's just really easy, really great program.
What about styrofoam?
Yeah, it's not a part of that, but
My big
yeah,
bugaboo.
Yeah, nope, and
No, but
that's,
you can make it into insulation.
but they actually will take, they'll provide bags if you order them, and they will take styrofoam as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's just not food composting, but it's a complete recycling program as well.
I think that's absolutely amazing, and here's the reason why. I have a lot of styrofoam because I get things in the mail that are in styrofoam coolers, and I save them up and save them up and save them up, and the only place that I can take them to is either on the south side of Decatur, Scottsdale, even further down than that, or way down almost at the federal pen, at where Charm is, which, by the way, they're relocating. And while I'm a stickler for not composting, but recycling, I truly am. I just wonder if the cost of getting it there in the first place, of my time, but also the gas to get it down there outweighs the recycling part of it. And to me, styrofoam is one of the worst. And what I love about Charm is that they actually turn that into building materials. So it is reused and not put into the stream and not, turned into something that pollutes our planet. And so I am absolutely in favor of doing anything that we can to stop throwing away, being a throwaway society. Absolutely. And if Chamblee can be a leader in that or get on the team with that, I'm absolutely in favor. But I also have composted for years and years and years and years. And plastic can stink after a while, and you can't get rid of the odor of the can. I just recently bought a ceramic container.
Help prevent it.
Like that sort of,
Maybe we can get some best practices from Compost now too, on like how to keep their containers clean.
yeah. I think that would be great. And there are actually kids that have businesses cleaning garbage cans and stuff like that. So I think that's actually great too. But I just wanted to be very sure of the awareness that we're all aware of everything that it takes to compost and to recycle.
Yeah, I think Kristen hit the nail on the head too, that our apartments can compost too through this program, which is like something you can't, it's really hard to do if you live in an apartment right now. So it'll help increase that.
I will call out one other fact here is that all food scraps, so that means bones, meat, fish, can be composted here, which when I was home composting, that's a big no-no. So this actually reduces the food waste that goes into the stream that we have. And I also point out that Kristen touched on one thing, is that the less that we're putting into our trucks, it's going to affect our tripping fees in the future. And if anybody's been paying attention out there, Ted Terry, Commissioner Terry, has been making a big push for composting because they don't want to raise the tripping fees because that's going to raise costs on everybody. So this is a way we can mitigate that and do something good for this planet as well.
And again, even, let's go back to the odors. With less biodegradable waste in our trucks, the less the odor is going to be in the long run. I don't know if anybody else does this, but if I get behind a garbage truck, I stop, pull off, I can't deal with the odor. And that's huge. It's big because that stuff's coming out on the street. It has to be washed out all the time. They have to be disinfected. So I'm absolutely all for it. Yep.
All right. Anything else on composting? All right.
No, what's the length of contract on this?
I believe it's just, like, you got it?
Now you can give a 30-day notice to cancel at any time.
Yeah, and I will say, part of this is we're gonna have to do a lot of education and outreach to push the program and encourage residents to join. And I think it'll take some time. We'll wanna get some data on it and be able to evaluate using kind of a data-driven approach with it as well.
Is there a target of like how many residents we want to sign up for this program to make it a worthwhile program? Or is it just going to be Leslie and Jimmy recycling and?
I mean, it's functioning like Compost now currently operates. So as Jimmy mentioned, he is, or Councilmember First mentioned, but he is a private user of Compost now. He pays $40 a month. This is the same thing. It's just a reduced rate through the city. So, I mean, it's kind of, it doesn't cost the city anything. It's directly contracted, or a direct customer service agreement between the resident and Compost now. They're just getting a reduced rate, and the city's doing education outreach on it.
But if they don't get enough buy-in, they're going to want to drop us.
They haven't said that. I don't know the target on what their market might be and what they're looking for. They're really excited for the opportunity for Chamblee because we are very dense in a small area. I know we're bigger than both Decatur and Avondale Estates, but they seem ready up for the challenge. Our Public Works team's really good at, I think they'll give good resources to them too, like information on how to attack some of the more dense areas.
Okay. All right, that'll take us down to 1900 and 1901 Century Boulevard. Matt?
So again, so this is the second time this item has come before you. Last month it came before you for the public hearing. Tonight we're just going to go over what has changed in the intervening month. So since the last time we met, the applicant has submitted new materials that remove the need for previous variance number 2, which was the reduction of the west side yard setback for a commercial dumpster. All other variance and waiver requests are still applicable. So as a recap, the site contains just under 16 acres. There are 3 5-story buildings proposed to be constructed, which total approximately 374,000 square feet of combined residential and commercial floor area. The development will include 320 residential units, bringing it to a density of about 20 units per acre, and approximately 10,000 square feet of ground floor commercial space, the majority of which would be located on the southern parcel. The development provides a total of 520 parking spaces across both sites and would provide approximately 50% of its surface area as open space. So since the public hearing, the applicants provided additional information related to their offer to provide a 20-foot wide easement for future construction of a trail by an as-yet unidentified party. The city engineers reviewed this proposal and recommended that this instead be a 30-foot permanent easement with a 10-foot temporary access easement for construction on either side of the permanent easement. Additionally, the applicant has mentioned the dedication of a portion of the properties in the city of Chamblee, shown in the upper right-hand corner of the slide in yellow. This site is approximately 0.45 acres. Whoops. The site is approximately 0.45 acres and is directly adjacent to property also owned by the city of Chamblee, just directly to the north. Our staff report has been updated to note these changes and updated to include recommended conditions for council to consider that would incorporate the recommendations from the city engineer, as well as the timing for both the easement and the dedication of land to the city. So the applicants also provided updated plans showing the inclusion of 2 commercial units added to the southern portion of the site, which engages with the trail easement that they have offered to provide. Staff has no concerns with these structures other than the parking provided. As noted in our original staff report, there are concerns about the parking calculations given the non-specificity of the commercial uses in the submitted plans. Because of this, our report contains a recommendation of recommended condition of approval for council to consider, which would require the documentation of any required parking being provided for those new commercial structures. So you see here our updated recommendations. We're recommending denial of variances 3, variances 4, and variances 5. I apologize, the typo on there. So variance 3 is the variance to allow the primary residential entrance to not face Century Boulevard. Variance 4 is a waiver from section 230-27A3 to allow cementitious fiberboard lap siding on a building greater than 3 stories. And waiver 5 is to not utilize type 1 or type 2 construction on a building exceeding 3 stories. Staff is recommending approval of variances 1, 2, 4, 5, and waivers 1, 2, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. These conditions, the first 2 have not changed since the last meeting. Condition number 3 has not changed since the last meeting. Condition number 4, again, has changed to include the recommendations from the city engineer, as well as some additional guidance on the timing of both the easement and the property dedication. Condition number 5 has been added regarding the trash collection pad to be used solely for the temporary placement of commercial dumpsters during scheduled collection, and that afterwards they would be brought back inside the building. This is already a requirement the site would be subject to. We're just making that clear in a condition. And should council choose to include the proposed future commercial exhibits as part of their approval, staff would recommend an additional condition requiring that development or that portion of the development show compliance with the minimum parking space requirements. I do believe the applicant has some as well that they would like to share.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Den Webb, 1105 West Peachtree Street, Atlanta, Georgia, 30309, here on behalf of Alliance Residential. I'll introduce my colleagues again this evening. To my far right is Carter Bream with Alliance Residential. He's the managing director. And to his left is Chris Harrell, the project engineer. I brought my presentation from last time, 26 pages or so. I don't intend to go through it all, but if I'm prepared to answer any questions you have. We covered a lot of ground last time, so I thought I would at least touch on the points that Matt just mentioned. Number one, we have removed a variance, so we are now down to 5 variance requests and 9 waivers. As you heard, staff has recommended approval of all the variances but 1 and all the waivers but 2, and I thought I would just briefly touch on those. And let me get to my site plan. The first variance, or the only variance really at issue, at least between us and the staff, is to section 2413B32, which is to allow the primary residential entrance to not face Century Boulevard. I just want to talk a little bit about that, because if you look at this site plan, we have residential units on Century Boulevard that are walk-up. There will be doors and sidewalks that connect to the street. We also have a total of 10,200 square feet of commercial space that, again, will directly connect with the street. So to the extent that that code section is to create energy and engagement with the street, we think we've done it. It would be our hope, at least, to allow for the general residential entrances to be closer to the parking lot. We have one here on the east side of the building on the north, and a comparable one on the south side, too. So that's the basis for the request. We think we're meeting the spirit of that particular section by having direct engagement through the commercial and residential proposed, and that's why we're asking for that variance. The 2 waivers really relate to construction materials. The first is concrete and steel construction. We're asking to waive that requirement. We are seeking a 5-story building, which will be stick-built, and we know that that is a waiver that has been granted here before. The other is to allow cementitious fiberboard lap siding on a building greater than 3 stories. Again, that's more of an accent material here. And as part of our package, we included a detail on the construction materials. You'll see that the board and batten you see is a cementitious fiberboard. There's a little bit of trim as well. So that is the basis for those 2 waiver requests. Let me talk briefly about what I think most people are here to talk about, which is the Peachtree Creek Greenway. This has been an exciting addition to this project it wasn't there in the beginning. And frankly, it was Councilman Veith who planted the seed for this, and Councilman Mesa who helped us sort of flesh it out, right? We've spent a lot of time kind of talking about this, and as you heard Matt say, originally the proposal was for a 20-foot easement along essentially the southern and eastern boundaries of our property. Our understanding is that this city engineer reviewed this request and has asked for a 30-foot easement with 2 10-foot temporary easements on either side to allow for construction. We are fine with that. Chris Harrell has reinforced a number of times we've got the space to allow for that. So that is a change that we support. There was mention of Jewel Box commercial, and that is also something we've considered more recently. Again, that was sort of out of a conversation with Councilman Mesa. We were talking about that development at Johnson's Ferry and Peachtree Industrial, and sort of some of the cool aspects of that and how it interacts with a sidewalk. And we were asked to consider potential future locations for commercial on this site. Again, we've got 10,200 square feet within walking distance of this trail within our buildings, but we've identified 2 spots here, and you can see it in this master plan, one to the east along Century Boulevard and one to the west, or sort of southwest corner of our site. I've got better blow-ups here. This first image is what you see along Century Boulevard on the east of our site. We've shown a 2,000 square foot future commercial pad. That is actually just outside the floodplain. So you'll notice that floodplain line there. And we have another option here on the west at 3,600 square feet. Again, it's right along the trail, and it is just outside the floodplain. These are not components that we are proposing to build as part of this particular project. The trail needs to go in, we need activity there, but we're proposing them now for future growth. And again, as Matt mentioned, we recognize that when the time comes, parking will need to be addressed then, and I'll talk about that a little bit more in a second. I want to thank our folks from the Peachtree Creek Greenway who have come here again. We've had a lot of support from those guys and frankly, a lot of interaction. We met with them on site last week at 8:30 a.m. And here's an interesting thing. There are a lot of people walking around there already. Our first stop was to cross the footbridge and go into the neighborhood behind us. At least 3 people walking their dogs walked by us, crossed the footbridge to walk along Century Boulevard. And as we came along the other side, there were, I'd say, 8 to 10 folks just kind of walking around too. The general manager of the Marriott, Max, is here somewhere, and I mentioned that to him, that it looked like some of those folks were actually coming from his hotel. So there's already a little bit of energy there now, and I can't imagine how great it's going to be once this trail is actually built. And we're quite excited about it, and really are frankly grateful for the opportunity to include it. This was a good project from the beginning, but it's a great project now, and I think this Peachtree Creek Greenway creates a lot of energy. The last thing I want to talk about are the conditions. And I've sent out a copy of these to staff. We are fine with the staff conditions, number 1. But we're asking to modify 2 just slightly. The first is condition 4, and it basically requires us to record an easement for the trail at the time we submit for the land disturbance permit. Alliance will not own the property at the time it submits for the LDP. It actually will not, a condition of closing is to get the permit. So once the permit is issued, Alliance will have to close on the property, and our request is just to modify the timing of that particular component to within 30 days of closing on the property, Alliance will record the easement. There is also language in here to address the dedication of that extension of the park to our north. We're fine with the timing proposed by staff, and it's really tied to a CO there. The other change is in item 6. Again, I think we're really just trying to clarify this. You know, as I mentioned, the intent for the commercial space is to build that at some point in the future. We just wanted to make sure that everybody understands the parking will be figured out then, right? We'll know what's on the ground. We'll know whether we have got restaurant, retail, fitness in the 10,200 square feet proposed, and we'll have a better idea what the parking need is then. So we just ask that that issue be clarified there, parking be addressed at the appropriate time, and either it be provided or a variance sought. Again, I'm happy to talk about anything you guys want to talk about tonight, but I think I'll stop there. Ultimately, our request is that all the variances and waivers sought are approved, subject to staff conditions as we propose to revise them. Thank you.
Any questions from council for the applicant or staff on this item?
I have a few questions. One is probably for Matt. In the past, when we've had developments like this where maybe parking, the letter of the law conflicted maybe, but I imagine the uses, the residents in maximum parking time versus when the restaurants might need it might be at different times. So sometimes we took that into consideration when we decided, it wasn't called a shared parking agreement. That keeps popping in my head, but I know that's not it. But I know that we had some consideration of what the use was at the time. They would, was it a breakfast place? Is it a lunch place? Is it a nightclub? And how that may interact with the residential parking at that time. So that's just something that we've done in the past. And I certainly think we need to probably consider what actually ends up going in there before we decide if they have to, there's valet options too, in some situations.
That would be a shared parking arrangement.
It would be, okay.
We would need to have that submitted formally.
Right.
That is one of the ways to address the parking.
Okay.
So that would fully be compliant with staff's proposed condition.
Sure.
And to that point, we're fine with the added language there. That was our intent.
Right.
Figured out at that time. We're just trying to avoid approving a project that is under park.
That hasn't been addressed. And you're saying you're fine with his supplemental language that he added?
Correct.
So we would add that as a condition, add that language?
The only additional thing I would say on the conditions is instead of tying the easement to within 30 days of the acquisition of the property, just before certificate of occupancy, that would be staff's preference.
We've done that in the past too, I believe, that way. And then it clearly shows all the easements for all the not rail trail, PCG project that's tied to this particular property and this particular development. But there's been some discussion about, maybe Dan can answer this, but is there anything, any documentation of the extension that goes up to Claremont Road and the other extension that goes in the other direction towards DeKalb County and 85 or whatever?
We don't have any documentation, but we've met with Highwoods, and they've represented to us that they're fine with it. I think there was a meeting or two with the city on that issue too, but we can try and get something.
Well, that's been a big thorn in my side, and the entire time I've tried to work on getting PCG through Century Center is that, there was LOIs that never appeared, there was whatever, and so we're actually talking about sneaking up on getting some easements and document, so then we can actually move forward on this, because it's really hard for us to do anything on property that we don't have any entitlement or to.
Understood.
So I'm not trying to, I thought it existed. That's the reason why I'm asking you. I'm not trying to.
Yeah.
If you could help move that along, it'd be helpful, but I don't think that's really actually tied to this project.
Let's see what we can do. We've had a lot of conversations about it.
Right,
And we
sure.
started with the extension from the west side of our site to Claremont. They said, yeah, we're totally fine with that. They own all that land.
Right.
And then we had an additional conversation, but I don't have anything that I can think of in writing from them. Let me see what I can do.
Talk about it. Theoretically it exists, but then when it comes time to do something about it, it doesn't actually exist. So I would just kind of like to know the status of that.
All right, we'll work on that.
Any other questions from council? Good. All right. This takes us down to 5037 Peachtree Road.
Okay, so since last we met on this, staff has received updated plans. This, again, is a 14-unit multifamily building along Peachtree Road. So the applicant has provided new materials that have eliminated the need for variance number 5 and number 6, variance number 8, and waivers number 3 and 5. So we'll go through that and just shortly point those areas out. So as a reminder, the proposal is to install a new 14-unit multifamily structure along Peachtree Road. The applicant has secured an easement agreement with the railroad to use a portion of their right-of-way for parking and to locate their dumpster on the site. I believe they've also brought additional information for that tonight regarding the durability of that easement. The updated rendering of the site shows compliance with the tree density requirements as well as the requirement to plant landscaping in the landscape zone along Peachtree Road. As designed, the project would exceed the required 12.9 inches of diameter at breast height tree density and would instead provide 16 inches diameter at breast height. So the updated elevation shows breaks in the front facade as well as the addition of decorative dormers with the attic vents to the roof. As noted in our staff report, these actions would meet the requirements of the UDO for facade articulation and roof line variation. So with that, staff is recommending denial of variances 5, 6, 8, 3, and 5. Those include the variances which are no longer needed because the plans now show compliance. And approval of variances 1, 2, 3, 4, 7, and 9. And waivers 1, 2, and 4. So staff does have 2 conditions that we would still recommend. So the site be constructed in substantial conformity with the site plan dated received by Planning and Development on March 6th, as revised to reflect the denied variances and waivers and subject to any additional revisions required by conditions of approval. And condition number 2, that the development shall provide Juliet balconies for a minimum of 60% of the units.
All right. Council have questions for the applicant or staff on this item?
Question for the applicant. Last session that we had, there was a lot of community pushback on this project. How would you respond to those questions?
From my understanding, there were 3 points that was a major concern. One was the traffic. To that, I would like to say this is a residential project, not a commercial. We're talking 14 units and 19 parking. Majority of these people are going to be leaving the house in the morning, peak hours, 6, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, and coming back in the evening around 5, 6. But our goal is to present these kind of properties to people that are using MARTA, because MARTA is right next door. So we're not expecting people to have too many cars anyways. But at the same time, this is not a commercial project, so you're not going to see cars come in and out all day long. It's just going to be for the peak hours between probably 5 to 7 in the morning or 6 to 8 in the morning and evening when people come back home. So that should not add too much impact than what currently is. The second issue was, I believe one was parking, the other one was why do you have so many variances? Well, this is a .19 acre lot. There's not too much you can do with just such a small lot, so we still did our best to fit this project as best as we can. And majority of the issues that Matt and his team had, we were able to fix those and implement in the project, but there's just some things that we just can't get around it, so those are the reasons why we're asking some of those variances and waivers. The third issue was for the, I guess the parking leases with the Norfolk Southern guys, and we actually have a lease that's ready for signature, and one of the concern was what happens when the lease expires. So I have an email from Norfolk saying these are evergreen leases and they really don't expire, they just keep going on till one of us cancels it. And that's exactly how they have it with everybody on the same street, including a bigger project, the pet hospital, I think they're called, the Pet Parenthood. I believe they're also using the same space for the parking, and they have the same exact lease. So according to them, that's a normal lease for them, and it just stays on forever because they don't have any use for that land unless city gets rid of the train tracks, but I'm not sure what else you can do on that piece once it's gone. I think those are the three concerns. If you guys have any other questions, I'll be happy to answer.
I do have a question.
Yes.
So as far as the parking spaces go, how do you actually control whether somebody has 2 cars or not? You can expect, but that's not controlling.
How we get leased, we'll have in our leases that depending on how many we pre-lease or have leasing, and let's say we don't have enough parking, we'll just not take those applications and just only allow 1 car. And if they have, sure, yeah, because we can't lease property to somebody without a parking, right? Sure, yes, absolutely, we'll have to have permitted. Yes, yes, that's going to be a bigger issue for us than because we don't want people calling us, hey, where do we park? But we'll let you know ahead of time. You can only have 1 car, and MARTA is any other option, for you.
I think you can definitely do assigned parking per unit.
Yes, we'll have numbers on the parking space.
Make that very clear, because that is, I know that is a concern. I'm not concerned about the amount of traffic. 14 cars in a city our size, with the millions that are passing through every month, is not a big deal in itself. And I'm not really that concerned about the lease agreement with Norfolk. I'm pretty familiar with how that works, and they are very long. But what is your out clause to that? What is their out clause to that? Do they have to
How much they're charging us?
What kind of notice did they have to give you if they're going to take that back? Is that spelled out in your agreement with them? What type of notice?
30-day notice.
So they would only have to give you 30 days notice?
But we have an email from them that they can give us a 4-year option if needed, if we want to add that on there. But according to them, this evergreen lease, I mean, they've never done it before.
Yeah, I think it would be in your best interest to have something long-term in
Yes.
writing.
We'll have to negotiate that with them, yeah.
I mean, that's the 300-pound gorilla for me. I mean, what do you do if it does get canceled? Do you have places that you can't rent? I mean, what? Yeah,
It's kind of impossible.
yeah, I know. But then, I spent time in an apartment when I was moving, and I do know that the particular place I was, there was no other option. You had to just keep driving around your parking lot till you find it. You know, there was no place to go and park overnight and get up at 6 o'clock in the morning and move your car. I mean, it just didn't exist. And I have a feeling, due to your location, there are probably a number of opportunities for your residents to probably potentially borrow a parking space overnight, or what if they can't find one in the morning. So I don't know what kind of teeth we have, but I mean, we definitely need to have some sort of assigned parking, or I don't know how that can be as a condition of approval or matter or what, but there's definitely.
He would have his own assigned parking, for sure.
Yeah, I mean.
'Cause you can't just have somebody from outside come in.
Well, you can't have us, but you also can't park on somebody else's property.
Right, exactly.
You can't
'Cause
park
they
at Whole
can't sleep at
Foods, you
night.
can't park at the ceramics place, and you can't park at Moondogs, and you can't park at, you can't park.
Each unit will definitely get one parking assigned.
Right.
And maybe the rest of the parking, we have some visitors parking, so maybe we can do a timing where at this time, visitors can only park at this time. And they have to move, and the residents
Yeah,
can use the rest.
I would definitely have to formalize that somehow before I could get on board, because that's kind of my big sticking point on this.
So what do you
for sure.
suggest?
I don't suggest, it's not my problem to solve, it's your problem, or Matt's. Sorry, I don't mean to be snippy about it, but that's not my problem to solve.
Councilmember Mesa, to your point, if council were so inclined, you could put a condition of approval on this, conditioning the assignment of parking. For staff to enforce that, we would ask that be included in some sort of draft lease document that would be included with the project documents for this site, so that we could reference back to. If at the time in the future, at some point, leases are given out without assigned parking, we could then point back to that and have a documentary record of it.
I would love to see a draft of that.
Always try to think about the what-ifs. And, I mean, I understand the Norfolk does have a long-term agreement. I've talked to the folks at the Pet Center before, so I know they have the same thing. But what is Plan B if that day comes? And
Because everybody else on
Yeah.
the same street.
but we
find
can't
some
look
other
at it
parking.
like that, right? I mean, we can't look at, we have to have something.
If I can say, if that comes to be, there's a big difference between, a restaurant or a real estate office losing its parking and 14 apartments with people living in it losing it. That's a dramatically different case. So just say, well, it is what it is not an acceptable response.
If anything, for us, that's a big liability, because we're the one investing millions into the project. So it's a big concern for us as well, but Norfolk has done a good job convincing us that this is not going to be a problem as far as, they've never had this issue before, and all the leases are evergreen. And that gives us the confidence to kind of invest the money that we have to invest in it. So it's not a concern just for you guys, it's a big concern for us as well. And we are ready to take the chance based on the reputation that Norfolk has with the city and with everyone else along the same road. And not just Chamblee, I mean, they have nationwide, they have the same projects all around. And according to them, they do this everywhere they go, so.
Do you have other projects around the metro area?
Chamblee?
And
No, in Metro?
Anywhere in the metro area? Do you have other projects that you have built?
No, not with Norfolk's, no. Oh, yes, in Griffin, Georgia, yes. We lease a parking from them as well, and I can show you the lease, I mean, that goes back 30 years.
Well, I'm not talking about that. I guess what I'm saying is these projects have a tendency to flip. You build it, and then you flip it, and then it becomes somebody else's problem. And that's what I need. I can't speak for everybody else, but I need some assurance that there is a plan B, that there is something you can't have apartments without parking, and anything could happen. So, I know Whole Foods is right across the street. That parking lot over there is not heavily used. There might be a shared agreement with them. You could look around at your other neighbors and see some shared agreements with them. But just for me, I need some assurance in some way that that day is not going to come where there's not going to be parking for your project.
Numbers-wise, I don't think they even have enough parking to share with us. The only logical partner would be Whole Foods. And if we approach them now, they're gonna give us a lease, and we'll have to start paying rent to them, and we have to start paying rent to Norfolk. So I think we can probably approach Whole Foods at some point and try to, I think people already park there. I think it's a paid parking. I have to double check if that's what it is, because they have that whole parking lot over there.
So first off, I wanted to be clear, my recommendation about conditioning based on a lease would be for the residential leases themselves, not for the Norfolk Southern lease. But council could also consider a condition that would require the applicant to apply for a shared parking arrangement to provide the sufficient number of parking units if the Norfolk Southern lease is canceled. So that would trigger at that point, it would be on the applicant to document compliance with that, and if it's not done, then it would fall back on them at that point from a code enforcement standpoint.
And whatever sales contract comes about when you go to sell your project.
Has to be, yeah, because they can come back and sue us later, so it has to be, yeah. Absolutely.
Any other questions on this item? Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us down to 3392 Chamblee Dunwoody Road. When we get down to citizen comment, if you'll just hang around for a minute, okay? Was there any questions from council about 3392 Chamblee Dunwoody?
Not as far as the zoning.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think the questions are gonna come when the design comes forward, yeah.
Correct.
Particularly about, for ownership, how the property looks and setbacks and all of that mess.
Yeah, I gotta say, it's the darndest thing I've ever seen. But if there's a market for it, I mean,
You have no idea.
you don't have to worry. I'll never be renting a space, but, or buying a space. I don't have, yeah, that's not my car in the picture, but.
Fun business to be in. We have a lot of amazing clients, and, you know, working with our municipalities we go into, it's just been amazing. We want to have a good partnership, and it works out amazingly well. The one thing, and the reason we did hold back on the design was because we didn't we didn't know exactly what you were going to look for, and I know it's up to us to come up with that. Our contractor is here with us tonight, and one thing that we're doing on this trip is to go around and get the vibe and the feel of Chamblee and kind of establish what we think is going to fit the best, because that's our main intention. So that's kind of what this trip, besides, you know, this meeting tonight is all about, is making sure that we put something in front of council and you, Mayor, that's going to enhance Chamblee in terms of what's there now. And we try to do that in all our communities, like when we build on the coast in Charleston and whatnot, it's very coastal. When we go inland, we try to match what's there. And my background's architecture and design, so that's pretty big on our plate in terms of making sure we build a community that fits and is an asset, so.
I envision this sort of like the hangar hang at the airport, where
That's actually accurate.
Is that
That's very accurate.
Yeah, so,
It's amazing to see it. I've been doing this since 2006. To pull into a community and see what it does, and we use the word community all the time, and I know I'm probably overusing it tonight, but it is the basis of what we do. You know, we provide a service and a product that people want, which is technically storage, but is so much more than that. The camaraderie, it's always hard for me to find the elevator pitch, so to speak, when someone says, what do you do? And I give it to them, they don't know if I build condos, if I come in and rebuild your rec room, or I build mini storage. One of my clients came to me a couple months ago and said, you know what you build? And I said, what? And he said, you build country clubs without the golf. And that's basically, you know, like-minded individuals, birds of a feather. The friendships that build out of there and the business partnerships that build out of our communities and the families, and it's really, really a cool thing to be involved with, so.
Oh, let me ask you, there will be no, you said this, and I'm just going to repeat it, there will be no overnight stays?
Correct. Most of the people that buy these units don't like to work on their vehicles because they're very, the vehicles in question range from 200,000 to $1.5 million. It's almost impossible. These guys are in there waxing and hanging out and that kind of a thing.
Well, that's the whole thing, you know, so now we're talking about detailing these vehicles.
Well, they're their own, so if I own one of these units,
What?
They're detailing their own personal vehicles, not somebody else's.
Well, I understand that. However, that's some of the activity that's going to go on there.
yes. I mean, I'm a boater. I'm not even a car person, to be honest with you, so the fact I'm standing here talking about car projects is kind of crazy. So basically, in my unit, I have a few boats. They're smaller, but I'm very particular. So in my spare time, when I go over there to kind of hang out and decompress, I'm waxing and, you know, no major, you know, modifications, no engine work, nothing like that. Our clients are particular. They're, you know, there's not a lot of wrenching going on, so to speak, if I want to use slang. They're basically building them for showrooms, for their cars to kind of go in there and hang out and look at. Mhm.
Allow mechanic shops to not exist, or to exist rather, without being attached to a car dealership.
Took a tour of one of our communities and you walk through each of the units, what you're going to see is a lot of fancy cars and not a lot of workstations. They really are, you know, places for these guys to just look at what they've collected over the years. They're basically more museums, if you want to look at it from that perspective, than auto, you know, workshops. We've, mhm. I love that you said that. I'll get back to community. We have oyster roasts. We have gatherings at our communities where they're open basically to the public, where you can come. We advertise. Sometimes we have a food truck. You know, we're from Charleston, so we're big on oysters. So we have oyster roasts. The tenants will open up their doors because they're proud of their collections, what they worked hard for. They're proud of their, you know, their cars. And we'll have, you know, in our bigger communities, up to 100 to 150 people come through during an entire day where it's all free. So they come in, you can eat, drink, the kids run around, the guys talk about cars. I know I keep saying community, but it's really, really wonderful to see what these things bring. Yeah, absolutely. We advertise them. Mhm. It's hard to explain if you're not, like, I live in this world, so it's become normalcy for me. If you told me 5 years ago that it would grow to this extent to what, you know, they cost, I wouldn't even believe you. But it's really, really a cool thing to be involved with and to see grow and to see what kind of community, not only within the confines of our community, but externally, how it brings the community together. It's really, really cool.
Security?
All the way around, and the gate is worked off of an app.
I will say from a zoning standpoint, it bugs me a little bit that that little corner is going to be left not NIT as the VC, the piece that goes over to Blackburn Way. It's a shame that that's just hanging out there as a bit of a straggler.
Talks with the owners there, and we've received favorable response from the community in terms of people wanting to come in and purchase. We kind of held off on marketing and getting into the community that much until we got that approval, and we do move forward and we continue to have success in the sales end of it. We have a contract actually under place with an agreed to amount where I would like to purchase that corner lot, extend the buildings down, and actually have the main entrance off of the side road. That's what I would love. So
Talking about the house with the,
house is on the corner, but we've already made inroads with that, with the owner to purchase that if we wish.
Yeah, so self-storage is not an economic development tool. I've read papers on it. They open it up. There's one job created, and there's no halo effect around that. And I'm hearing people say that this is just self-storage. Can you talk a little bit about the economic development and the halo effect that this could bring to the community?
Sure. What we see in our other communities is we end up finding areas, I don't know if it's by divine intervention or with just, by happenstance, we end up by regional airports, which is obviously where we're at here. But we also end up in revitalization zones. We need to be within 20 minutes from driveway to driveway of wealth, because if you go too far out, people aren't going to drive that far. It's not going to be as successful because, if they want to go hang out and look at their cars, they're not going to drive an hour. So we try to buy property close to the wealth, so to speak, that's easy to get to. But what that comes with is our developments that we've done so far. We have 5 underway, and like I said, I've done many of these. The benefit to this is when our folks are over there and they need a sandwich, or they need something to drink, or they want to go with their buddies to eat, or whatnot. So it actually helps the surrounding areas. There's no really economic benefit inside because we're not retail. So you're not going to see a lot of that coming out of the actual development. But what you're going to find is guys on a Saturday or Sunday or, Tuesday night or whatever, they end up saying, oh, there's 5 or 6 of us here, let's go grab a beer. And, they support local businesses or, whatever that looks like. So in almost all of our locations, that has happened. So we end up locating ourselves in a similar zone as we are now. So all the local businesses in the area will be supported by our potentially 26 owners. Yeah.
Sorry, Jimmy.
I got you.
They're going to want to stop by, and so, what's the value of that? I don't know, but I definitely see that being these guys going to whatever.
I see it myself. I have 1.5 units in Mount Pleasant, and you go over there to, decompress or hang out or wherever you're there. And then there's 1, 2, or 3 other owners that show up, and then they all end up in yours or theirs, congregating, and they go, hey, did you eat lunch? No. You want to go to lunch? So there's 4 or 5 restaurants, Greek, Mexican, within a 2-minute drive of us. So we all just jump in a truck and we go up and, we spend a couple $100 for lunch or whatever that might be. So, and that happens all the time.
Last question, it may not be my last, I'm not making any promises. How does this building engage with the street?
In reference to looks, or we,
walking by a business that has windows and lights and people inside and all that kind of stuff. How does that not just become another dark, there's no way I'm walking past it at 8 o'clock at night, even though I have to walk home, type of engagement?
that will be answered once we submit our architectural designs. Like I said before, I'm pretty particular. I've got a brand I'm building, plus I like architecture and design. So
That's going to be something that I look hard at because that's a big deal. That's a big deal.
hoping to make you proud. So it's well lit, it's not a dark type situation, but we'll make you proud with our submittals.
Anything else? All right.
How many stories is the building? Two? Or it's just one? How much roof space? How much roof space? How much sunlight do you get? You interested in putting solar on top of it?
We've been approached a little bit on that. The problem is they're lifetime warranted roofs that are all metal, and you won't see them from the street because of our design. But fastening solar panels to a lifetime roof, we use the panels as a selling factor that we're not going to have leaks. It's not shingles. In order to fashion solar panels on top of the roof,
Look harder into it.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. All right. That's it. Thank you. All right, that takes us back down to Ashton Woods. Questions from council on this item?
There was a question before we get into that from somebody out in the audience, so.
That needs to be during citizen
Yeah,
comment.
just hang tight for me. We'll get you.
So Matt, I just want to make this abundantly clear for our friends at home. This is just 100% administrative actions that we're taking today. Does not include any kind of development into the forest preserve whatsoever, correct?
Correct.
So she had a question, and she cannot ask a question, and we cannot answer it during public comment.
Well, we can.
So we can ask the question now, like we do a lot of times. What was your question? And then we can answer it. That was my point.
Well,
That's
we
a good
had-
workaround, Paul. Sure, go
Yeah,
ahead.
but we had another gentleman that has a question on another project too.
Well, we
And
kinda
so when
passed
you
that.
kind of open that door, I would
I
rather.
leave it in your capable hands,
If we
Mayor.
could wait until public comments and then, what's that? During this time. Yeah. We're going to come back to you, though. I'm not going to leave you hanging. Under Councilmember Mesa, we either have a temporary moratorium or a moratorium on temporary signs, but we have some.
Enforcement of the temporary moratorium on the enforcement of signs.
Okay, tell us.
So I had been approached by actually a couple residents, or not residents, but businesses, and I guess they're interested in pursuing things during the World Cup. And I guess the temporary sign ordinance is somewhat restrictive. And I just was exploring questions with Kristen about it, saying like, is there something we can do? Is there, I mean, how could this work? And then she came up with like other benefits to doing this during this time, and what some of it is like Malone Drive, the construction, all of this, the projects, some of those businesses are having a tough time. So we don't make it just about businesses during the World Cup, but we just take a period of time to help give some relief on a lot of business. And I believe Vivian also thought it was a good idea. So I don't want to speak for them, but if they have any additional input on why, they're the ones that validated that I should bring this forward. But other than that, do you want to share anything to that? I kind of butchered that a bit, but that's okay, as long as you admit that you have a problem.
I will clarify that the conversation is that it is a feasible thing to do. It is,
yeah.
and you know, if you're going to move forward with doing that, you can't do it for one singular business. You'd have to do it for, you know, everybody who is has a temporary sign that they want to have. You can't just enforce it on a small select group of people. So you need to widen your purpose for that, and that was the intent behind the other benefits of having a moratorium in place, just to make sure that it covers a purpose.
The other benefits that you sold me on is correct, right?
Sure, I'll take that one. It's a policy decision, guys.
I just, you know, these guys will say, that's another one of John's harebrained ideas trying to push forward. And it's like, well, I'm not the only one pushing this forward. So,
What does temporary look like?
yes, well, that's a good question. That's why we're having a discussion.
Okay.
Could be 30 days, it could be 60 days, it could be 90 days, it could be whatever. I think it's pretty much whatever we decide, right, Kristen?
You have the ability to decide that time frame. I mean, it's your ordinance, right? I mean, just like anything else in the code, if you want to delay enforcement by 30 days, then we can do that. If you want us to turn the other cheek for 30 days, we can do that. But I would suggest doing that by way of a time-stamped, time-framed moratorium resolution.
Okay.
Is there any consensus of what that timeframe may?
I'm not there yet.
Okay.
So what you're asking, are you then asking that we, in some form, suspend the temporary sign ordinance altogether?
Yes. But you can,
Okay,
we can
then-
take modifications on it. I'm not,
Okay, so that's the basic idea. Where? Or for whom? Because my concern is doing that and singling out a specific part of the city and not the entire city is a little sticky.
my intent was the entire city.
Okay, that wasn't clear. My then concern is turning the spigot off afterwards, and how much additional labor our code enforcement is going to have reining all these folks back in. I am certain that the majority of our business owners, being good business citizens of our city, will follow the rules, but I also know we have some others who won't. And how much additional work do we want to put onto our code enforcement for this?
I think that's a fair question to ask, and it's probably we could get some input on, but I'm not an expert in that, so, but I can certainly do that research if that's the question that you have.
Well, for me, it's more of a philosophical question than a mechanical question. It's more philosophical for me than it is mechanical. Again, do we want to, punch a hole in the barrel and then have to close it back up? And I'm not sure.
Okay, that's fair.
And is this for the period of the soccer?
Hasn't been determined yet.
Oh, okay. So
It can be more, it can be a little less, it can be right on, it could be,
Okay.
I need guidance, though,
yeah.
if it's going to be done, so like something you want me to work on between now and Tuesday.
Trying to overcome a hardship, right?
There's been some hardships expressed to me, yes.
Parts of it is to overcome a hardship.
Yes.
Parts of it is from people that really aren't having a hardship, they just want to do a temporary sign.
Yes, that's fair.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so y'all get with Councilmember Mesa and nail this down before.
What?
I said, we need to get with you and nail this down.
Nail him down.
Nail him down.
We can't do everything.
All right, Councilmember First has a Dresden Plaster SSD expansion.
Absolutely. So a couple years ago, we implemented the special service district around Dresden Park with the understanding that Dresden Park, we're putting $14 million into it. We knew there was going to be more upkeep, more beautification, more security that was going to happen in that area. And we've had great success with that. Dresden Park looks amazing, but those costs associated with the overhead, that maintenance upkeep I just talked about is immense. The park is being used heavily. If anybody's been out there on a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, it doesn't matter, any day of the week, it's packed, it's huge. There's a full-time crew dedicated to that park now. There's a cost associated with that. I want to continue the success. I want to continue the beautification. I want to continue the security that we've added to that area. Those are the two main points, beautification and security, but there's a third point as well, and that's potential expansion in Dresden Park. There's opportunities for us in the future to buy properties that abut this, and expanding the SSD, bringing more funds in will give us the opportunity to do that without going into debt. And there's also another piece to this with Dresden Trail coming online soon. We're getting ready to build that, and there's going to be costs associated with that for the upkeep and the beautification there. All going to take funds. And this is why I'm proposing expanding out the SSD. I would like to ask council to give consent this evening to the city manager to work on maps on what that could look like and what kind of funds that could bring in. Thank you.
Councilmember First has made his sales pitch. Any discussion? Okay with letting Kristen put a little work into it?
Thank you, council. I appreciate that.
And just FYI, this item won't be on Tuesday's agenda. It was just an information item.
Very good, very good. All right, now that'll take us down to public comment. And I appreciate y'all waiting. The mayor is the presiding officer. All remarks shall be addressed to the city council as a body, not to individual members. Anyone wishing to speak shall come to the microphone, give your name and address to the city clerk. Limit remarks to 3 minutes. Unless further time is granted by council, not speak a second time until everyone wishing to speak has spoken once. No one can speak more than twice. Please do not speak unless you have the microphone and have been recognized. Come on up, tell us what's on.
And I am the timekeeper, so if you hit 3 minutes, it's going to be abrupt.
He'll scream.
So it will be a little uncomfortable, so I just want to give you a heads up.
I think I can do it in 2 minutes.
Gotcha.
All right.
Challenge accepted.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is William Ennis, 2223 Medfield Trail, Hillcrest neighborhood. My property is adjacent immediately to Century Center, so I'm speaking in regards to specifically the trail system. I realize you're considering the proposed trail expansion as an expenditure on a recreational amenity. However, your assessment of the project must change when the element of commercial space is added. As soon as you put retail space along the trail, it becomes an economic engine that brings income into Chamblee from neighboring areas. The proposed pathway does not solely benefit the residents immediately adjacent stretch of Claremont Road in front of my neighborhood solely benefits my neighbors. Claremont Road services the entire Atlanta area, and it serves Chamblee by importing commerce to the Chamblee businesses along it. Roads bring commerce and trade. They are the foundation of economic growth and development. The PCG Trail will bring money into Chamblee from neighboring communities, and if we have retail set up on that trail, Chamblee will be capturing income from Brookhaven, Atlanta, Decatur, and people throughout the metro area that either travel along the Greenway or travel to it for recreational use. Without launching into an academic discussion of macroeconomics, this transforms Chamblee's economy from a closed autarky to an export-led basis. This is an enormous shift towards growth dynamics. The wealthiest states in the country have economies based on tourism or exports. California, Florida, Colorado, Texas, the biggest cities in the world are built around transportation. Even Atlanta, aka Terminus, was actually conceived as a modern transportation hub. This discussion may seem a little overly philosophical for a simple trail system, but the principles at work are the same. Establishing commerce on transportation recreation networks is the very meaning of location, location, location. Our business partners in this endeavor clearly understand this. They were willing to go back to the planning phase and invest more time and energy into the redesign of their development to include commercial space to take advantage of the principles at play here. What is it going to take for the citizens of Chamblee and the businesses in Chamblee to convince the officials of this town to support projects that grow and strengthen it? If we don't support this project, we will be missing a tremendous revenue-generating opportunity that we may never get back.
2 minutes, 46 seconds.
Thank you so much. Appreciate you. All right, come on up. Thank you for your patience. I appreciate that. Tell us what's on your mind.
I'm here for the Pruitt Healthcare, those parcels. I back up to track 1, and bottom line, there's been confusion who owns that tract. My neighbors and I want to know why it's never been titled to the city when the other tracts were titled to healthcare. Is there a plan to resolve this title issue? Does the city really going to have clear title and file a deed of ownership? Thanks.
I'm going to put you in the capable hands of Matt. And
The city does have deed and title to that property. We have not mapped it with DeKalb County.
Excuse me.
Hang on, this is not, this is,
public comment.
comment.
You do that.
this is what I was trying to do
That's
before.
fine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But I'm
come
gonna
on,
put-
Brian.
I'm
I
gonna
thought
put
you knew the
in-
rules.
I'm going to put you in the capable hands of Matt, and he'll answer your question offline. How's that?
You're okay, Matt. I still like you.
Yeah. Sorry, Matt.
Dang it, Matt.
And now we're having a dialogue.
Yeah.
We
Okay.
have to go to the
Come on
next
up here,
person,
sir.
no dialogue.
Tell us what's on your mind.
I'm David Daniel from Wright's Car Care. They're freestanding, not attached to a dealership repair facility. We're the oldest automotive repair facility in the state, so I'm adjacent to the address of 5037. I have a multitude of questions, which I'll talk with Matt later, but from the survey, basically the property and the parking, the numbers don't add up. 14 tenants, I'm sure they're $500 million or more per unit. That would mean 2 cars per, so it's like 28 cars. 19 would be with guests, so I have a bit of a problem with that. In the survey that I showed, and I have a copy too, obviously it's not going to be for your teleprompter there, so I can't show you, but there's a section in between our property and the property next door. So that is abandoned property where the Claremont Bridge used to come in many, many, many years ago, back in the 70s. And I've been there for 30 years and counting, and I have battled to keep people off of the property in that abandoned area constantly, where, it's not parked there. I've been maintaining that property for 30 years too. So there wasn't really any mention of that. And from past history with the property next door, that's exactly where the cars go, right in that spot. And I've, over the many years, I've had to deal with that. If you would allow me just a few more minutes, I could clear up a few things since I've been leasing from Norfolk Southern for over 30 years. Okay, and I noticed in the survey that also they show the parking spots in the back. On the property, on the back side of that, or my parking lot, there is a fiber optic that runs that complete distance on the back side of it, and there is no digging there. So the gentleman may not be familiar with the lease agreement, so those parking spots would, obviously to prepare that property and to put the paving in, you're going to have to dig there. So I think that that's going to be a bit of an issue for have a 99-year lease with Norfolk Southern. Also, it does also add, since people will be living there, problems for me as far as I'm going to need a fence. I'm going to have to spend money to, enclose my whole parking area. I do have renovation plans for the facility now that I own the property.
We're at 3 minutes.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate you. Appreciate your patience. Come on up, sir.
Panel, thank you for having me. I'm Mr. Dutton, the owner of the Mad Stitchers, right close to the 5037 property. I do oppose this to the cars, the parking, the Southern Railroad. Probably more distinctive in y'all's decision, having that lease, verified, because technically, seeing that many cars, as far as the many years that I've spent there, having my business as far as, professionalized and, taking care of the customers, and the traffic has increased. Basically, people use that like a a highway. It's nonstop. The Whole Foods seems to be fine, but the property where I'm at basically could become real dangerous, adding more condos or apartments or anything in that area, that basically I would see that it would take some good consideration to see, how we keep that from happening, because even if the property is leased, sold, or what after it either gets erected or what, that raises the right eyebrow to me of what it's going to do to the business and what I have to do in order to obtain the population, because 6 inches off the building is Southern Railroad. I carry a $2 million policy because of the population of Chamblee. So technically, it's fenced in, it's private, nobody can actually walk on the property or anything, but everything, straight up, when deceased animal was there, or, the Angel Pet Assembly there, we've not had really any problem, but technically, I'd like for y'all to consider, your evaluation when we make that decision, whether we move forward or what. But I think it's going to be overcrowded, and I don't think there's going to be enough parking space basically for that facility, that they're trying to build. The automotive, the vault, since I'm in that business, I would probably pay a little bit of interest in, to approve that, because I'm into the high dollar cars, the restoration and stuff. So that does, in my heart, benefit me and the city of Chamblee as far as, how we do business. And we do look for the people that do have wealth, do have income, and like nice things, and that's what I try to strive, within my business operation, is give a satisfied craftsmanship. And that's pretty much my say-so as far as the two areas that I'd like to pay attention to. Thank you.
243 again.
Mr. Mayor and Council, my wife says I need to speak quietly and not so loud, so y'all think I'm a nice person, which I am. This thing with this vault, the car thing, great thing for Chamblee. You have warehouses behind it, warehouses around the corner. This thing, if you've ever been a car guy, I got a friend of mine, and he has one. Matter of fact, he's the old race car partner with Jim Downing. And he keeps his out of New Smyrna Beach. They have a same unit, but it's not high-end like this. And when I had our mayor of Atlanta, we hauled all these high-end cars. And just last night, I was up a quick trip, and a young man's there with a $650,000 GT4 RS, brand new Porsche with drive-out tag. And it was purchased right here at Ellis. There are people that have 8 or 10 of these cars at their homes. They live at Capital City Club. They like to have a place right next door. So if they want to drive the Porsche tonight, they bring the Lamborghini here and they park it inside. They get the Porsche, go out for a day or so. And in the evenings, he's so right. Everybody gets together. Let's go have a beer, guys. And it's a great thing. I've seen it done on a lower budget, but this right here, this would rock the city of Chamblee, and y'all would love it, because you have warehouses all around there, and to have that right there, that'd be the bomb. Changing subject, over on Peachtree Road. I don't think a licensed real estate agent can tell a single mom with a 16-year-old that she can't have 2 cars. Licensed real estate agents they only certain things they can say and don't. I think I would like to see more ownership in Chamblee than apartments. And if you divide up the 14 apartments to maybe 7 or 8 condos with ownership, and once the person buys it, you don't have to worry about flipping it in 5 years. You have an ownership with ownership in the city of Chamblee. And it's a great thing to live here in the city of Chamblee and enjoy the concerts and ice cream places and all the new things really going on. And tomorrow night, you'll see everybody here. And see, I was nice, right? Didn't talk loud, didn't say really negative things. Elmer, we're good?
Thanks, Ronnie.
Jimmy, everything. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Best one yet.
All right, come on up.
My name is Andreen Heilig, and I'm a nearby property owner. I reviewed the application, and I'm talking about the structure of the vault with the cars. That's what I'm talking about. I'm concerned about the requested zoning variances and waiver that may affect surrounding commercial properties. I ask that the city carefully consider future developmental opportunities, traffic access, compatibility with surrounding uses, and the long-term impact on nearby property owners before making a final decision. Thank you.
again, Hartsmill Lane, Brookhaven. Once again, this comes back down to the strict adherence of code, as we're talking about with the Century property. I've mentioned this and showed this, that we don't need more apartments here in Chamblee. You don't have to have a greenway in order to build that. That property, that project could meet code and still have a greenway. That doesn't have to go, hand in hand. In terms of the parking, anybody that's been to Fado knows that residents park in that commercial parking area. People are going to park where they need to park. So if a project does not have appropriate parking, people are going to just find somewhere to park. They just don't get rid of a car or not have a car. That's not going to happen with it. In terms of the car storage, actually, I like the project. I've been to a lot of those events and so forth, but it's also not correct in saying that people won't stay there, because they do. And you can't walk into their properties. You can't force that. They're in there, they're staying there. Who knows? Are you going to kick them out at 10 p.m. every night? No. I guess I probably won't get invited to any of his events, but most of this comes down to, and it's just knowledge of this stuff. If these are your concerns and you're talking about community events, it's private property with a gate around it. You know, people may be invited in, but it's more of an invited, you know, not the public walking around invited in. And it's just understanding that and improving that. Once again, I'm not actually against it. You probably won't invite me, but this comes down to the strict adherence of code. I was told that Chamblee is trying to be strict on their code. So carry that out amongst everybody. Make that fair amongst everybody. As I've shown the city, there's 2 properties that are built and in operation now that are against code. Absolutely against it. Not approved whatsoever. I have done searches and I found more projects that are against code. So if Chamblee, you know, by the way, they're not automatically grandfathered in because they were built. It's still against code. So if Chamblee is going to take this position of strict adherence to code, absolutely no wavering, then just do it fair across the board. That's all it's asked.
Thank you, sir. Anyone else wishing to address council? Anyone? Executive session this evening? Oh, thank God. All right. Thank you all for joining us. We're out of here.
I know. Well, you didn't do, you didn't do the magic. Compost.